sign. So you could have either 2 wall signs or 1 wall sign and a detached sign. Just to give you another frame of reference, Quick Trip on Main Street, that's an illuminated wall sign. They have a number of different types of signs, but they do have a wall sign facing the street. It's an illuminated wall sign, and the area of this sign is 3% of the wall area on which it's mounted. The proposed standards would allow, again, 5% of, would allow 2 non-illuminated signs, wall signs, each sign not to exceed 5% on the wall, the area of the wall on which it is mounted. This diagram shows the signage that would be permitted, and we did scale the sign, which is called sign. We did scale it so it would be 5% on the wall area in which it is mounted, just to give you some idea of what that really means. For non-residential uses on sites of 5 acres or more, no more than 3 non-illuminated wall signs, each sign not to exceed 5% of the wall, of the area of the wall on which it is mounted. Also provided 1 detached sign up to 6 feet in height, 25 square feet in area is permitted in lieu of one of the permitted wall signs. On sites of 5 acres or more, with increased setbacks for the detached sign, the height of the detached sign could be increased up to a height of 15 feet and an area of 50 square feet. The basis or the rationale for allowing more signage on larger sites is these sites tend to be campus-like. And a good example are the schools. I keep pointing to the schools, but they do provide a pretty good example. They tend to be on large sites, many of sites greater than 10 acres, multiple buildings, a lot of different walls, multiple entrances. There really is a need for signage, wayfinding, and so therefore there's an increased justification for more signage on these larger sites. Keep in mind that the signage that's permitted under this amendment is non-illuminated signage. If there's any negative impact to adjacent residential areas, it tends to be from illuminated signage. Detached signage, the way this is drafted, detached signs may be non-illuminated, indirectly illuminated, or internally illuminated. Illuminated detached signage may be oriented to the street, but shall be designed and located to minimize detrimental effects to adjacent residential properties. So of all the standards we've been discussing, signage that meets these standards would be permitted with a sign permit by staff. The administrative would not go to the Planning Commission. So, for uses that have been approved by a preliminary and final development plan, the Planning Commission may approve illumination of attached signs, provided the illumination is determined by the Planning Commission to have no detrimental effect on adjacent residential properties. Applicants applying for illuminated wall signs would be required to notify owners of all residential properties adjoining the site and owners of all residential properties abutting that part of the public street adjoining the site. Applicants would be required to submit proof of said notification with the application. So that addresses that. If there is some need for illumination of wall signs, that would be the way to, for an applicant to obtain that approval. They would have to bring that to the Planning Commission. There are other changes that are proposed, but they're really minimal for clarification, clarity, and that concludes my presentation. Be happy to take any questions.
Has there been an issue with inappropriate signs, or is this something you're just trying to get ahead of before?
We've had some difficulties with mainly the school district has wanted signs on their buildings, and it's not clear what standards apply. You could, right now, actually, the standards do not appear to allow any wall signage at all. The standards say, one detached sign per church. Doesn't make any mention of other non-residential uses, and it doesn't permit a wall sign on a church.
So parties want signs, but want parameters, is what's expected.
Right. Their recourse at this point is to apply for a variance. The variance process is a pretty unwieldy process to deal with that kind of request. It's difficult to make a case that any type of signage, well, I shouldn't say any type of signage, but in many cases it would be difficult to make a case that signs would meet the criteria to approve variance. Variances are brought before the BZA, Board of Zoning Appeals decides variance cases. And so this would address that, it would avoid that problem.
And one question I have is, you mentioned illuminated signs, attached illuminated signs, as I'm assuming they're not explicitly disallowed. They're just, they would just come to the planning commission for those and the proposed changes?
That's correct.
Okay.
And that's for uses that are permitted through a plan development, preliminary development plan or final development plan, and final development plan. I also want to point out, I believe Gary Diener with the school district is here. You might have some additional light to shed on this, I don't know.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. That will go ahead and open the public hearing. If anyone would like to comment on this item, please come forward and state your name and address for the record.
Yes, good evening. I'm Gary Diener with the school district. I live in Olathe, 909 South Diane Drive, Olathe, Kansas. We just want to appreciate the work that Mike has done and staff in helping us get to this point. From our perspective, not to go back into a lot of history, we don't believe we're doing anything different in the building of Trail Ridge than any of the other buildings that exist. It's an exact prototype of Pioneer Ridge, and our signage basically is the same as what we're doing there. And so when we came upon the situation where we weren't going to be allowed a permit based on the interpretation of the ordinances, which in Mike's behalf do say that you can't do what we're asking you to do, and that is put a sign on the wall. I appreciate what Mike and his staff have done to create this text amendment so that we can be at the position we are right now. So thank you for the process.
Thank you. Do we have any others that would like to speak this evening? Hearing we don't have any others, do we have a motion to close the public hearing?
I move that we close the public hearing.
We have a motion to close the public hearing made by Weatherford with a second by Lavella. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries with all in favor. Do we have any additional discussion on this item? It seems pretty straightforward, but we'll give one more opportunity. If not, I'd entertain a motion for this item.
I'll make a motion that we send this on to the city council with a recommendation for approval.
Second.
A motion made by Barber with a second by Limer, that we forward the proposed amendment to section 18.70.020 of the zoning ordinance regarding the standards for signs in the agricultural and residential districts to the city council with a recommendation for approval.